The last technique we're going to go through in this video is a technique that just uses Boro patching, but with a knitwear patch on knitwear to mend any holes that you have in it. So this is an example of it where I've used a contrasting patch. I'm just going to turn over the jumper, so we've got a small little hole here that we're going to mend with a patch. Got this patch of knitwear fabric, and you just want to cut it down so it's about the same size as the hole but a little bit bigger. So I'd add about 1 centimetre around all the sides, so you've got it definitely covering the hole, and even if it shifts around then you've got a bit of extra room to play with. I'm going to put the patch under the hole, but again, like with normal Boro, which you can see in another of our videos, you can also put the patch on the top. It's totally up to you, it's just depending which style you prefer and how you want to finish the edges of the patch and the hole. So once you've got it smooth underneath, you can use your hand to kind of smooth it out. Just pop a couple of pins in the edge of the patch and the jumper, or whatever it is you're mending. This is only a small hole, so you should probably just need 2 pins there. And then for this one I'm going to use a finer yarn again. So it's the kind of 2-ply yarn, another woolen yarn that we were using earlier to do the gathering technique. So you just want to thread up your needle with about 30 centimetres of this yarn again, and just tie a knot in the end of it. Depending on the knit of whatever it is that you're working on, you might want to do 2 knots in case it pulls through there. Cool. And then I'm just going to start by bringing the needle up from the reverse of the fabric, but we're still looking at the face of the fabric whilst we're doing this. So like with a normal Boro patching technique, you can start just above the hole, you can start with a lot of stitching before you reach it. It's up to you in terms of the style of the stitching that you want. So I'm just going to start a little bit above the hole, and I'm just going to use the needle to weave up and down through the fabric to create a nice line of stitching there. And then same way you come across and you can do another line of stitching parallel to that. Again, you want to try and catch the edges of the hole here with your stitching, because that will just trap that down and stop the fraying and stop it from getting any bigger. This is one thing that I think is more important with the Boro or knitwear, just because it is more likely to completely unravel if it just got caught. So really trapping those loose edges is quite important in repairing it. So if you miss it, that edge, with your natural line of stitching, what you can do is go past it and then back stitch over it just to catch it before you carry on with your normal run of straight running stitch. So when you've got all the way across the hole like this, you can do another couple of rows of stitching to the side of it if you like, or even just 1 row of stitching going down the side. And then you can just turn over your jumper and secure your yarn on the back. So I normally just do a back stitch or double stitch just going into the patch of the fabric, so you're not catching the front of the fabric, you're just going in the back just to secure it, and then you can just use the last loop of the stitch to do a knot and secure it in place. And just to finish this off, which is slightly different to when you're working a Boro kind of technique on wovens, we're just going to make sure we trap all of the edge going around the hole. So I'm going to thread up my needle again. So working from the front of the jumper or piece of knitwear again, you're going to start on one side of the hole and just bring your needle up quite close to the edge of the hole. So you can see there, I'm just coming out quite like right next to the edge of the hole. And then do a stitch that just wraps around the hole again. It's kind of similar to what we were doing in the eyelet technique, but obviously there's the fabric there, so you're not making too much of an extra feature of it. You're just wrapping the areas of the hole that are still kind of fraying and loose. So spots where you've already gone over with stitching in your first set of lines of stitching, you don't need to go over again. You're just moving around the hole, trapping any loose edges that are left in the gaps. So the easiest way to do this, so you don't have to keep turning it over, is go pulling the needle up on one side, bringing it over, so you're going over the edge of the hole, and then moving it kind of diagonally underneath so that you come out in the next spot that you want to work on. So I've gone all the way around the hole now, and I'm quite happy with how much I've covered. So if there's any little fluffy bits that you kind of want to get rid of at this point, you can just take your sharp scissors and just trim those down. And you can see there the edges are all wrapped and it's quite secure. So with your last stitch, you can take your needle through to the reverse of the fabric. And again, you can do a couple of stitches just going into the patch and not the item of clothing that you're working on. And with your last stitch, catch that loop of the stitch like that, bring the needle through, and that just makes a knot. And that's the finished patching on knitwear. So that's quite a small little hole that I've fixed there. But on a bigger one, you can obviously see a bit more of the fabric and the pattern, so it become a real feature to add to your knitwear. Thanks for watching these quick fixes for knitwear. If you want any more advice or help, you can head to our website at www.fastfashiontherapy.co.uk.